Hello, Wolverines. It's Mrs. Krych. So, a lot of you know that on Mondays for our morning announcements, we always do a Mindful Monday practice. And this is something that's really important to me personally, because mindfulness is definitely something that's helped me in a lot of ways in my life. And it's important to us as a school community because we know that mindfulness helps us with all different kinds of skills. And so I have asked families if they would like some longer mindfulness practices. And I've had quite a few people be interested in this. And so what I'm going to try to do between now and the end of school is offer one longer sort of class or lesson a week on some different mindfulness practices and to talk a little more than what we get to do in our Monday morning announcements. So what I'm going to start with is, and I don't think I've talked about this on the announcements, but start to talk about what is mindfulness. I haven't really talked about what that is. We've been doing it, but I have a nice definition that I think works for especially kids, right? Mindfulness is paying attention here and now with kindness and curiosity, and then choosing your behavior. So I'm going to read that one more time. Mindfulness is paying attention here and now with kindness and curiosity, and then choosing your behavior. So when we practice mindfulness, we're actually practicing and working on a lot of different skills. And we've talked about that in our announcements, but I'm just going to talk about what some of those skills are that we're going to be practicing. Emotional self-regulation. So that's essentially noticing and naming our emotions, and then hopefully using some of our strategies if we have some big emotions to help calm them down. Another skill is focused attention. We've talked about that. We all could use help focusing our attention. Empathy development, and we've talked about empathy being able to really understand where someone else is coming from and what they're feeling. Stress reduction. Woo, we know what that is, right? Stress, and hopefully having a little less stress in our lives. Self-compassion. Self-love. We just did that recently in a announcement, our hand to heart, working on loving ourselves. Having a growth mindset. So that's believing that you and your brain constantly have an opportunity to grow. And contentment. Feeling good with yourself and the way things are, just how they are. So being content. It's kind of like a softer way of being happy. And there's even more. There's a whole list of different skills that it works on, but those are some key ones that I think help us all to be happier and more peaceful. So what we're going to do today is we're going to practice 2 different mindfulness practices. And what hopefully these will do is they'll introduce you to them, and then there are things that you can do throughout the week or try, and you're going to be working on your mindfulness muscles. All right? So it's a practice, just like when we're learning baseball and we practice swinging the ball, or we're learning how to play piano and we practice. You don't just automatically play some big Beethoven piece. You have to practice scales, and you have to do it every day. And that is the same for mindfulness. We're practicing training our brain so that we can develop those skills that I talked about. So our first mindfulness practice today is going to be mindful listening. And I think this is something that we all can benefit from. This helps when we're in the classroom. This helps when we are at home listening to the grown-ups in our home. It helps when we're having a conversation with a friend to work on mindful listening. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ring this chime, and this is actually a responsive classroom chime that we use in our classrooms, and pretty much all of our teachers should be using it. And you are going to hear the sound. What you need to do is see if you can listen to the sound with all your attention. You want to listen with your ears and your mind and your heart and your body, all your attention. And you listen for when the sound totally fades and you can't hear it anymore. And when the sound is totally gone, you're going to raise your hand. Now, I can't see you all because this is videotaped, but I'm going to try to listen for as long as I can to give everybody an opportunity. So what I'll have you do right now is close your eyes, or you can have a soft gaze to the ground. You don't need to look at the video anymore. And I'm going to ring the chime and listen with your ears, your mind, your heart, and your body until the sound totally fades away. And when it does, I want you to raise your hand. And keep your eyes closed or down until I begin to talk again. Now, before you open your eyes, take a moment to listen to the quiet underneath the sound. Notice how your body and mind and heart feel after listening this way. When you are ready, you can open your eyes. So here's some things that you can think about or maybe talk about with some of the people in your home who maybe you're doing this with. How was it to listen mindfully, to listen that way? How do your body, your mind, and your heart feel after listening like this? Did you have a hard time listening to the sound all the way until the end? What made it hard? If you want to pause the video now, you can pause and have that conversation with some of the loved ones by you. Even when we're listening for just a short amount of time, it's easy to get distracted. But when we practice these kinds of activities, it helps to strengthen our attention and focusing muscles. So what we did was we were focusing on listening mindfully. And you can do this other times throughout the week. So we'll talk about that at the very end. Okay, we are now going to do the second mindfulness practice of our first lesson. And you will need to pause the video and go and get yourself something to eat. Now, preferably a fruit or a vegetable. If you had raisins, you could get a little raisin. That's a great one. But preferably a simple food, like a fruit or a vegetable. So if you need to, you can pause the video and come back. All right, so what we are going to do is something that is a practice called mindful eating. So first, what I want you to do is just take a moment to see and check in with how you're feeling right now. Are you curious about what we're gonna do? Are you tired? Are you kind of wiggly? How are you feeling? All right, now take the food item that you had and look at your food item. What do you see? What do you notice about the size, the shape, the color of it? really use your sense of sight to look at that food item that you brought. What does it feel like? Is it heavy? Is it smooth? Is it cold? Feel how it feels in your hands. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a bite of our food together. And as we eat these items, we're going to practice mindfulness. So we're going to bring kind and curious attention to our eating. First, let's bring our curious attention to smell. What does your food item smell like? What's happening in your mouth and in your mind as you smell this item? Now close your eyes, or you can have your gaze softly at the ground, and bring your attention inside, just to you and that food item you have. So you're going to have to do your best to stay with me and not get ahead of ourselves. This might be a little hard because most of us are used to eating pretty quickly. So with your eyes closed or a soft gaze to the ground, lift the object to your mouth and take one bite. Let that bite rest in your mouth and pay attention to what is happening in your mouth. Don't rush. Now take just one chew and notice the taste. Take a single chew at a time, noticing how the taste changes, how your teeth and tongue work. Do your best to put all of your attention into your mouth with the food, chewing and tasting. See if you notice the urge to swallow before you actually swallow, and then feel the swallow as the food moves down your throat. Take your time and be curious. Before you open your eyes, notice how your body, mind, and heart feel in this moment. That was just one bite. You can open your eyes and look back at me. So this eating practice that we did is mindfulness. What was it like to eat this way? What did you notice? All right, Wolverines, thank you so much for doing those 2 mindfulness practices with me today. The listening practice and the eating mindfully practice. For homework, really just home practice, you can try both of these different times throughout the next week. So if you have a chime at home or even a musical instrument, you could pluck a string of a guitar or press a key of a piano, or even just like sometimes kids' toys have a little sound they make. Press that sound and listen until the very end. That could be something that everybody does before they eat dinner, and it kind of gets everybody's attention there. Another great thing to do to practice listening mindfully is when you go outside, close your eyes and just listen. Really try to take the sense of listening and focus only on that. And notice, do you hear the birds? Do you hear a lawnmower? Do you hear the hum of a car from another street? And the eating mindfully, you could try this at a certain meal of the day or at snack time. You could even do this for your first 1 or 2 bites of every meal. It would be really hard, I think, to eat this mindfully for all your meals. It might take you all day to eat, but this might be a good way to meet each of your meals. You can take a deep breath and look at your food. That's also a great opportunity to practice gratitude. Grateful that the food is in front of you, for everyone who worked to get that food to your plate. And then take your first bite very purposefully and mindfully. I can't wait to hear about how these practices go for you, and I will be back next week with another lesson and a few other practices for us. Thanks so much, Wolverines.